While there are plenty of places in the world that can be considered paradises, there are also other places where people are advised not to step foot due to unknown dangers. That's exactly what we want to talk about here. Intriguing places that can be simultaneously creepy and off-limits. Even some places that still baffle science about how they came to be. If you're a fan of videos that will leave you astounded and amazed by unbelievable realities, you should subscribe to our channel and enjoy. So, let's get going! Number 1. Kalachi. In a corner of Kazakhstan, there was a village that was almost anonymous until just a few years ago, but today, it has turned into a strange village. The people of this village go into a deep sleep without any apparent reason, and it happens suddenly, for a long time. It was spring of the year 2013 when this strange illness was discovered, and up until now, it has affected 150 out of the 600 residents of the village. No one knows what's happened. It's like they have no control over their sleeping and suddenly fall asleep. Not just for a couple of hours, but for long stretches, like a few days. During this sleep, they don't have any awareness at all. Maybe it suddenly occurs in a very dangerous situation. For example, one of the village residents was riding a motorbike with their spouse, and they suddenly fell asleep and didn't wake up for 3 days. But perhaps the worst part of this illness is that those affected lose their memory as well. Many of those who fall asleep suddenly don't remember the moment they fell asleep at all. In the end, after extensive research by scientists and doctors, when they became hopeless about finding a solution, they came to the conclusion that they needed to relocate the locals to another place. But some of the village residents who have lived on this land for years don't want to leave this village, even if the sudden sleep illness threatens them at any moment. If you were a resident of this village, what would you do? Would you leave or continue living with this major problem? Let us know in the comments. Number 2. Lake Angikuni. Imagine going on a trip to a town or village, but when you arrive, you see there's no one there except for you. You might say this can't possibly happen, but I have to tell you, it actually happened to a guy named Joe LaBelle. In fact, he was a trapper, and when he went to a village for work, he found that no one was in the cabins or barns, and there was no trace left indicating that people had left the village. On that same night, LaBelle noticed a fire that was still lit a little farther away from him. Despite being very scared, he approached it and, in the moonlight, saw a pot cooking stew on it. The stew had turned black, as if it had been left on the fire for too long and burned. Shaken by fear, LaBelle went to the nearest telegraph office and contacted the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. When the police entered the village, they were just as astonished and puzzled as LaBelle by the mysterious disappearance of 2,000 people, with no signs indicating where they had gone. They discovered that the village dogs were dead from starvation. What's even more chilling is that the graves in the village cemetery were also empty. All the Eskimos, both alive and dead, had vanished. I must say, this incident remains on the list of unsolved cases. Number 3. Underwater Park. An odd park that only shows up in winters. Yep, you heard it right, you can only see this weird park during the winter season. This park is inside the River Gorner in Styria, Austria. During the winter season, the lake's depth reaches about 1 or 2 meters, and the winter park Styria emerges in it. Enthusiasts of games and sports come to this park, engaging in leisure activities and walking around. But as the spring season begins and temperatures rise, the snow on the surrounding mountains slowly melts and flows into the river or park. This beautiful park is gradually submerged underwater, reaching depths of up to 12 meters. The lake takes its green color from the surrounding trees and greenery of the park. Usually, in the spring season, it's the divers who fall in love with this park, coming to watch the trees, flowers, benches, and park facilities. But as the winter season arrives, it's the people who make use of this beautiful park. Number 4. Number of the toes. You know those sounds that really get your nerves? Now imagine having to hear those sounds all the time. How would that make you feel? Taos is a small city in north-central Mexico, a place you might think has no difference from other quiet towns across the Americas, but that's not the case. Since the early 1990s, the residents of this city have been constantly hearing a series of faint and calm sounds. Those who hear these sounds describe them in one word: unbearable. These sounds never stop, and they are even more pronounced during the nights, to the extent that sometimes they don't let people sleep. Many have researched to uncover the source of this strange noise, but such a signal has never been discovered. In this city, everything seems natural. Yet, these sounds persist. Number 5. Devil's Kettle. A long time. The Devil's Waterfall is a twin waterfall located downstream of the Brule River in C.R. Magny Park. The eastern part of this waterfall, like anywhere else, flows into a lake below, but the strange thing is that the left side of this waterfall pours into a hole and disappears. People threw things like a bunch of ping pong balls into the water to see where they would go, but after that, no matter how much they searched, they couldn't find those things. A lot of folks were really surprised by this strange story, to the point that many researchers came to this area and investigated it. While nobody has dared to jump into it so far, according to local legends, in the past, a teenager who was wandering around the waterfall out of curiosity suddenly lost control, fell into it, got swallowed by the hole, and after that, no one ever saw him again. Petrifying well. Next to the River Nid, close to the town of Harrogate, there's a really scary cave. People used to think that the devil had cursed it because whenever water from the cave touched anything, it turned it into stone. And besides that, folks believe that the entrance to the cave looks like a very big skull, which makes this terrifying cave even scarier, you know? In the past, people used to avoid getting close to the terrifying cave in Harrogate because they were afraid that the cave water would turn them into stone, just like it did with other things. Still, curious folks always placed an object next to the cave waterfall and noticed that over a few weeks, their belongings slowly turned into stone. Among the things that have turned into stone by the cave water in Nid are wood, plant leaves, and even the carcasses of dead birds. There are other small items like teddy bear dolls by the well that visitors have left there in recent years. If you were to go there, what would you bring with you to turn into stone? Number 7. Human Zoo. In the previous places we introduced, we suggested not even thinking about traveling to those areas. But about this place, I gotta tell you, even if you wanted to, you can't go because it's the most forbidden place in the world right here. North Sentinel Island is a tiny island spanning 28 square miles located alongside the Andaman Islands in the Bay of Bengal. The Indian government has jurisdiction over this island, but they ban all trips due to its danger. That's why we have very little information about this island and the people living there. What we know about them is that they're currently the world's oldest isolated tribe, a Stone Age tribe that has had no contact with the outside world for 60,000 years. Where they've come from and how exactly they reached that place remains a mystery that no one has figured out yet. Researchers estimate the population of North Sentinel Island to be between 100 and a few hundred people, although there's no way to be sure of this number, as no one can set foot on the island and come back unharmed. Over the years, many individuals tried to establish contact and friendship with the inhabitants of this island, inviting them to various religions, but were met with a reception akin to that of early humans. That's why this island has become famous as a human zoo. In 1986, an escaped prisoner coincidentally ended up on this island. A few days later, a group of investigators found the escaped prisoner's body on the shores of this island. Pretty unlucky, right? What do you think? In 2006, two fishermen aged 48 and 52 who had accidentally reached this island were killed by its inhabitants. And also, in November 2018, the island's residents killed an American adventurer with the help of a few others who set foot on the island. They fatally wounded him with a few thrusts of a knife. If one day you come face to face with the islanders, dark-skinned with red eyes, run as fast as you can, and we hope you'll be really lucky to escape. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please let us know by clicking the like button. Don't forget to subscribe so you can catch our upcoming videos. By the way, tell us in the comments which place you'd like to see up close and why.